Hey, hi, thanks for joining us on the hub here. The let's take a look at some of the recent performances, credible performances, I should say, starting with the draw 1-1 against Arsenal. I think a lot of people may have been expecting, uh, you know, a wipeout with the kind of form Arsenal has been on, but Arsenal actually came out subdued. And although United, took a while to sort of get themselves into gear, and we see like the first half was pretty dull, uninspiring on both ends. They did pick it up and was able to score, and then although they conceded, it was a credible performance, holding Arsenal to the draw in the Premier League, which secured a point. Then on to the Europa League against Sociedad, which was a dominant performance, I should say, by United. They, again, what we've seen this season is that United, especially at home, don't start too well. But instead of capitulating, as we've seen in the past, they were able to get themselves back into the game and, secure an overwhelming, solid victory 4-1. And they followed that up with the Premier League win against Leicester City, which again was another dominant performance, albeit it's Leicester City, and we always have to take these contests and put them in the frame or in the context of the opposition. And so, although with Arsenal, obviously you're talking about second place, playing, I think they were 15th at the time, United, Sociedad, and Leicester City was a little different. But you have to win. You play what's in front of you, and they did that pretty well. So I think with those performances, question becomes now: is the team actually making some progress under this new coach? And we'll kind of take a little glimpse at it and look at it. I'll give you my thoughts and see where the team may go from here. But it's a long way to go before they can even think or consider challenging for a Premier League title or being in the Champions League. So here we go. Just stick around and stay tuned. So let's look at. I'm giving you my overall take. Over the past few games, the last three in particular, instead of an individual breakdown of each game, and we will make note of some of the performances. So there was a definite improvement all around, although I maintain that there's still issues when it comes to giveaways and simple errors. Although I would maintain that some of those fundamental errors that have cost points in the recent past, and we're talking about Maguire, Onana, and I don't have a problem pointing it out because there have been some really fundamental schoolboy, what we call schoolboy errors, that cost points and put the team in a worse position than it really should be. And a lot of people will question, obviously, the quality on the pitch. I myself think that, there are several players who are not good enough for Manchester United, but it is what it is. And the coach, AMORIM, inherited the squad, and obviously coming in mid-season and only with a constrained January transfer window, he didn't have much opportunity to do anything. And he has to look forward to the summer, although we can be optimistic, but it's going to be another subdued transfer window, in my view, because of the financial constraints. But anyway, the definite improvement was there. A brilliant, well, I should say brilliant performances by Bruno Fernandes, the captain, having been criticized, recently, and he didn't really have a great, let's say, first half of the season. A lot of times, what little hair I have left, I was pulling it out because of some of his, loss of possession, some of the attempts, some of, it just wasn't up to his standard. But now we're seeing the old Bruno, and with that hat trick recently, and his performances in terms of distribution, in terms of the quality he has exhibited, it's good to see that because he's one of the few standout players. I mean, we had Ahmad at the beginning. Obviously, he's injured, and the captain really needed to step up. And I have to say that in spite of the injury plague, the team, relatively speaking, has done well recently, especially in the last few games. Now we're seeing also that with that injury list, some of the youngsters have, out of necessity, been able to play and get in a few minutes, and a couple of them have shown some, glimpses of what the future holds and what quality they may have down the road. And also overall, the team really showed a little more, I would say, chemistry, cohesiveness, a little more interplay. Although I still think when you compare United to the top level teams in various leagues, whether it's Madrid, Barcelona, Bayern, Liverpool, Arsenal, City, even City, there's still that lacking precision in terms of passes, in terms of distribution, in terms of both on and off the ball play, and that needs to be improved. But it's good to see some level of improvement on the pitch. So as far as the coach goes, let's take a look at Ruben Amorim so far, and he's been applauded for the openness, the communication skills, the demeanor in front of the press, and I think he's well aware of the enormity of the task ahead. Although I think he may not have grasped or envisioned the kind of pressure situation, dealing in terms of Manchester United, comparing, to Sporting Lisbon and where he's been. So, but he hasn't buckled. He hasn't, shied away. He's up front. He's out there. He's speaking his mind. He is sticking to the task. He is sticking to his system and asking, for obviously some patience and some. And he did, again, he was really honest about the storm, the suffering, the pain before the healing, or the rewards, of all the hard work. So give him credit, give credit where credit is due. But in terms of in terms of his explanations, and that he came in mid-season, he didn't have the opportunity to train with the team, he didn't have the opportunity to make a whole lot of team changes. He inherited what he inherited from Eric Ten Hag, and a lot of it wasn't good, wasn't optimal. And he's doing his best, but he really there comes a time when he's got to show the quality that he has as a coach, in spite of whatever cards he's been dealt. Now, just judging from the last 2-3 games, something seems to be happening, but we don't want to get ahead of ourselves. There's a long way to go, but he's made some progress with the squad as far as playing in his preferred system, and as far as incorporating what he wants to see from them on the pitch. We've seen glimpses of it, but the question becomes, how can he help the team avoid slipping back into old habits, into old familiar patterns, into an old mindset. So he has to now show his quality as a coach and taking the team forward. They have a little momentum, and what can they do with it? Because um, the rest of the schedule is pretty heavy. I have to say too, as far as he's concerned, with all the injuries that he's dealt with, there's a tough run coming at the end of the season here, which could see the team, drop down after this improvement here in the last few games, because they're playing some tough games, as you'll see in terms of the schedule. And the rubber meets the road here, and we'll see what he's about. And hopefully they can build on the momentum and they can make progress, a little more progress, or at least sustain what we've seen in the last couple of games or so in the league in particular. And let's hope that they can actually go on a run and capture that Europa League title, because that will bode well for obviously Champions League play next season and bring in some extra funds into the coffers. So it remains to be seen, but it's still a long way to go, and an interesting off season in terms of what can United do to bring in players, because we know the reality is they have to sell to buy. And who will AMORIM put on the chopping block, and what's the target going to be, and how can they get some decent business done for AMORIM to prove that he is the man for this job? Because let's say even if he does acquire a couple players, let's say maybe not what he would want, all that he would like, you never get all you want, but if he does make some changes and he brings in new players, it becomes his team, and next season becomes his test where he has to prove himself that he's up to this job. So it's going to be interesting, but let's get through the rest of this season and let's see what happens in terms of the final position on the table and whether or not they can actually lift the Europa League trophy. So thanks for joining us, and stay tuned for more.